I want to restore. And when I'm done with it, this is in my imagination what I have. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you, it never looked like that. Tim, did it ever look like that? Anyone you've seen I've done so far? No, but that's what I wanted it to look like. When I was done, I just knew that I could stand back and go, wow, I've restored this back better than its original condition. Because you know what? They say chrome don't get you home, but chrome does look good, doesn't it? It does look good. So in this restoration project, we always, take our time when we're doing this. But, restoration comes in a lot of different ways, doesn't it? Just not in a vehicle, whether it be our homes, whether it be our lives. Sometimes in a situation like this, we do lose perspective, though, don't we? We can spend so much time, whether it be the car, whether it be the home. I mean, you know what? Again, I got so many projects going on at home. I don't know, 10, 15, 20 of them. How many of them are finished? Hold on now. Y'all talking to my wife again, aren't you? That's exactly right. Because you know what? I'm always getting moved one way or the other. I just never seem to keep the direction I'm supposed to be in. But no matter what we do to this car, no matter how we restore it back to what we think to be perfect, the end result is this. It's still going to look like that when it's all said and done, isn't it? I mean, you think about it. Everything that has a beginning is going to have an end. When that little baby's born and most of them had that little thing and it's all soft and squeezy and all that goes up on you, you still love it, don't you? But what happens, it starts to grow and it seems to get out in the world, doesn't it? And it does get some bruises, it gets some scratches. Do we still love it? And then sometimes they get so far away that you got to break them, don't you? Because now you have to restore that person back. In the Greek, restoration actually means to set a bone. Anybody have a broken bone in here? Anybody ever imagine having a broken bone and it's got to be set? Now, if your bone is broken, do they just walk in there and wrap it up and say, there you go, Mr. Gillikin, go ahead, going out your way? Because if they did that, I'd be like this for the rest of my life, wouldn't I? Okay, but there's a very... It probably hurts breaking a bone, doesn't it? Yeah. Now, see, the only time I broke, well, my mom was telling us, did everybody just had Easter, right? Did everybody go to their parents' house or their mom's house or somebody's house? Did you mingle among yourselves for Easter? Yeah. Well, I get to see my mom and my sisters a couple times a year. And every time we get together, they start talking about all the things that happened when you were a little kid. That's just part of it, isn't it? And this is my broken bone story. Now, I haven't broken a bone, I think, since I've gotten away from my parents. So I'm not saying anything, that's right. But this is what happened to them. I was a clumsy little fat kid, now I'm a big clumsy fat kid, but then I was a little, I guess because I was shorter, I would roll more. So I was I'm running through the woods, with my friends, and probably, I don't know what happened, but apparently I end up getting my foot stuck under a log and I break my toe. So they take me in, and they go ahead and fix me up. Well, a couple days later, I thought I could fly. Well, that's only because my dad used to have me stand on top of the dresser. He'd get me up there, and then he would stand there, and what would he do? Jump off. Now see, I guess you're allowed to do that stuff in the 60s. You can't do that today, right? You can't have your kids jump off the dresser and you catch them. There's something wrong with that. So anyhow, guess what? My dad wasn't in the room. I jumped off the dresser, and I hit the ground. Okay? I didn't know how far I could go. I mean, maybe I could make it from the dresser to the living room. So then they take me in again. Okay? That wasn't so bad. Well, it was coming in that. A couple days later, I'm riding my bike. And I was born and raised in Central Avenue. Anybody know where Central Avenue is? Okay, well, there's an apartment project that's in Central Avenue. And it has a wall in it that's about 6.5 foot high on each side, and it says apartments on each side. Well, I was trying to ride my bike on the top bricks of that. And, I didn't do so well. I fell off, and I did end up breaking another part of my body. And then I think there was one other thing that my sisters keep saying. She said, you were so fat you broke the swing set. And this is how that happened. You know that if you're in those swing sets that you put up from Toys R Us for like $100, if two of you go at the same time, do anybody know what happens? It'll start rocking. Yeah, well, I didn't know that. So I'm rocking, and I'm swinging, and of course the swing set flips over, hits my arm, that breaks. Fourth time I'm in the emergency room, they're thinking of calling my mom and dad. And yeah, that's what they're thinking about doing, because they're saying, why does this kid keep coming in here? So to make a long story short, if any of those things happen, if I didn't have it set correctly, then my bones would not have grown the way they were supposed to be. And restoration, I got news for you. The worst part about restoration, it's going to hurt. There's going to be pain involved. Because once they set the bone, and I'm sure that's part of the pain, but the rest of the pain is getting to the next step. Restoration. Got to keep an eye on my notes too, just to make sure. Because you know what? I'm so bad, and they all know this from what you guys have heard. I never use my notes, and most of the time I'll babble on for like 45 minutes, and they'll be like, Dennis, you're on slide 2. What do you want me to do? So I'm really trying to make sure I stay with my notes. But there is another kind of restoration, isn't there? The restoration of Christ. Now, Christ has restoration in a couple different ways in our life. Now, of course, this is one of the ways in our life, and again, you should know these verses that I'm giving you. If you don't, I want to make you stay after class. But basically, he says, Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes again, and his eyes were opened. His sight was completely what? Restored. Completely restored. You know, that's restoration that we want in our lives. When Christ is involved in your life, there is full restoration. There's another time when Christ basically says, what? Boom. Then he said to the man, hold out your hand. So the man held out his hand, and it was what? It was restored. Now, you know what? I know that every one of us in this room prays at one point or another in their life. Some might pray every day. Some might pray 10 times a day. But I'm one thing I am positive about, when you're sick, when you're hurt, when you need something, I guarantee you're praying. Is that true? So I know for a fact that if we have something in us, we need to pray about that. Now look, I had cancer at one time. How many people knew that I had cancer? All right, a couple of you that knew. All right, I had cancer, how many years ago now, honey? 10, 12 years ago? 13 years. I can't even keep track. Okay? Believe it or not, I got one lung. Okay? Imagine how much I could bellow with 2 lungs. You wouldn't know about it. And I ain't telling you that, did this have cancer? Look, you know what? Worry about somebody who's really sick. God got tired of seeing my name on prayer list and got ready. I said, one more time, just get him out of there. And the point that I'm making is that I prayed when I was sick, and I was already a Christian, so you got 2 schools of thought there. That either one, if you prayed hard enough, you would have been healed and you wouldn't need an operation. Now, you know what my school of thought is? I prayed that God would touch the hands of the surgeon. I prayed that the healing mechanism that only God can put in a person would take care of him. Because you know what? Sometimes setting the arm is the worst part about it, isn't it? There's a lot of pain in setting the arm. Now, I don't remember my broken bone because I was just a wee little round thing. Okay, but now I got a feeling, when I do anything, if I get a cold, you know about it. Okay? I mean, breaking a bone right now, I'd probably be devastated for the rest of my life. I'm serious. I mean, I'm not good with pain. And when they told me I had cancer and they were going to take my lung, you know what my first question was? I'm asleep when you take that out, right? I mean, that's really all my concern was, you know, because I didn't want to deal with the pain. So maybe when things happen in your life, God says, I got to set that bone. If you're going to be restored the way I need you restored, you're going to have to suffer a little bit. You know, Pastor has said this to me a long time ago, and he used to say, you want your cake and eat it too, don't you? I said, yeah, look at it. Of course I do. And what that was is that I had everything that I wanted, but I wanted more, but I didn't want to suffer for it whatsoever. So when I was going to Bible school, and Pastor was the dean, he was teaching me. I had gone in there one time and I said, you know what, I just can't do this. I got too much going on in my life. And he's looking at me, what are you talking about? Well, you know, I work, 50, 60, 70 hours a week.